Hello,
Hi.
first of all. Can I get you to tell me just your first name and your age? We'll start with you.
My
please.
name is Nyla and I'm 17.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Terry. I'm 17.
I'm Emmanuel. I'm 18.
I'm Lisa and I'm 16.
I'm Evie. I'm 18.
Okay. So it's interesting that we've got a 16-year-old here, because the first thing I wanted to ask you is, I'm sure you know about this, but in Australia they have implemented a ban on anyone under 16 accessing social media.
Oh.
And
Oh, no.
it's an interesting response. So the government are thinking of doing that here as well. There's a big consultation going on. And the first thing I wanted to ask you is, do you think that that's a good idea?
To an extent.
Okay,
Yeah.
Elaborate, please.
Certain parts of the media should be cornered off, and certain parts of the media should be allowed for people of 16 years of age. Like, for example, TikTok it can be a great place in terms of your algorithm if it's well planned, if you will. And if it's of your interest and not harmful content, then I think that's okay. But if it's sort of leaning towards the sketchier side, like Twitter, and X, that shouldn't really be allowed for 16-year-olds, I don't think.
Okay, do you all agree with that?
I think it depends on the parents, honestly, because there's parental locks on certain apps and stuff like that. I don't think it should be cut off to all 16-year-olds. I think the parents should just take a further step and try and protect their children online as well as in real life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. I wonder, we'll come back to what you've said about parenting, because I wonder how well equipped parents are to actually do that. I feel like a lot of the time children know more than their parents about technology. But in terms of what you were saying about some platforms being good generally for teenagers and others being not so good, let's take TikTok. Are you all on TikTok?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chronically.
Okay. Have you seen something on TikTok, maybe when you were younger, where you thought, oh, okay, I don't think I should have seen that?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of people that are underage that are being exploited by their parents. And personally, I don't agree with it, because it's like there's a girl on TikTok, I'm not going to say names, but she's quite young, and her mother and her auntie, and there's a lot of people that are involved in it, are really pushing her out there to be collaborating with brands, stuff like that. I feel like TikTok should be for people who are over 16, because there's a lot of stuff that's on the media that young people shouldn't be seeing just as yet.
Oh yeah, because isn't it currently 13 plus, the app?
Yeah.
That should not be that.
I thought it was 12 plus.
Even worse.
Yeah, sorry.
Like-
I think it's 12 plus right now.
Yeah, I remember seeing a statistic that 75% of children have reported seeing harmful stuff online, and 75% of the UK, that's an extremely big amount of people.
Yeah. And what's really interesting about TikTok is they've done experiments on it where they found that the algorithms treat male users and female users very, very differently.
Whoa.
So Emmanuel, I'm wondering, have you seen what you might call incel culture on TikTok?
Yeah, definitely. I've seen I'm not gonna name names obviously, but I've seen men who pretend that they've got everything, and then they tell people to buy maybe their courses or do this step or read this or do this. So I've definitely seen this incel quote unquote culture on TikTok, not only on TikTok but on Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. I think it's quite normal. I think it's a bit less now, but it's still too popular, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of content.
And did you feel like you saw it even though you weren't going looking for it?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I think because, as I'm a male, so maybe they targeted towards me. Or maybe I liked a topic that they always talk about, for example, cars. They're always flexing their cars. So maybe that's why it was targeted to me. But I think, because I was a male on these social media apps, and because I was a younger audience too, I've seen these since I was 13, 14. And a lot of 14-year-old males are impressionable to these topics.
Absolutely. I was talking to, there's a guy called James Bloodworth who does kind of investigations into the manosphere. And he was telling me he went to this photo shoot. I want to say it was in Vegas or somewhere like that, but it was essentially just any guys could go and pay to pose with a Lamborghini and have professional shots taken for their social media, so it looked like they owned those cars.
Interesting.
Yeah, does that surprise you?
No.
No,
There's so
but
much
actually-
fake news like that online. It's
Yeah.
just how so much fake news gets spread. It's insane because you don't know what's real and what's not. And I think especially with AI now, like it's so hard to tell what's actually genuine and what's been edited.
Yeah, a lot of people use AI to either like protect themselves and say like that's AI, that's not me, or they use it genuinely to flex a life that they don't have. And I don't like personally, I'm not a fan of how like flexing a life that you don't have is very normalized, because then it ruins your expectations of your own life, and it makes people not as grateful as they should be for a lot of things that they have.
And in terms of AI and fake news, how much do you use social media to find out about current affairs, for example?
Often.
Like daily.
Yeah.
daily.
I was gonna
to
say,
be
as
honest.
journalism students, we can't escape it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And how are you verifying the content that you're seeing?
I try to find an original source,
Yeah,
sort of like where
from like
the root is.
BBC or
If
ITV.
it gets posted on like news related stuff, I try to find it on multiple news platforms just to like make sure it's real. Also, I make sure to check. Sometimes they like label the person that they're getting the source from, so I always go back to their platform and like see if they posted the same thing, so it's not like I'm being scammed in a way.
And you're all journalism students, so you
Not
know
all of
not
us.
all.
Oh, you're not. Okay.
Just me and Terry.
Okay, but that's really good practice. But do you think that your average person of your age would know to do those things?
No.
Not really.
No.
A lot of people our age are very impressionable. They'll believe anything they see.
Yeah.
I think the problem also is that the way they said it was correct, but the problem is you're gonna have so much time just searching for all these sources that every video that you scroll, you need to check the source to see if it's real or not. Even if it's not news, it could be anything.
Like nothing seems authentic anymore.
Yeah, so you have to like search for it all the time. It's a waste of a lot of time.
Do you think that there is an issue with people your age of not believing anything?
I think it's the opposite.
I think it's the
We
opposite.
Personally.
believe
okay.
too much, if
Oh,
that makes sense.
interesting.
As
Yeah.
in, like, rumors and stuff get spread so quickly.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
very hard to believe what is real and what is not real. So most people tend to just be like, oh yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, and cancel culture has become so big that people believe something that didn't even actually happen, and it can ruin a person's reputation, for example. Or they did do it, and then it just gets really out of hand.
When you say cancel culture, do you mean influencers and famous people, or do you mean your peers are getting cancelled online?
Both.
Both.
Yeah,
It's a
both.
mix
Could
of
be both,
both,
yeah.
to be
Yeah.
honest.
Okay.
More so towards celebrities, though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
recall ever having a time where a friend of mine got cancelled, for example.
That's really interesting. And the other thing that people who are opposed to this ban for under 16s, the thing that they will say is, well, everyone will just get a VPN
Yeah.
as a way around
Yeah.
it. Do you think that's true?
Yeah.
But everyone seems to find a way in somehow. Do you know what I mean? Like when the TikTok ban for America was happening, I remember James Charles posted a video and he was under his covers and he was like, guys, I'm in this app through something secret. And I was like, what is going on? Like people seem to go out of their way just for an app. I find it actually bizarre.
I think the Australia ban, it was like so abrupt. It was like straight away, everyone under 16 can't have it. Whereas like, I think if they brought it in more gradually, people would be more accepting to it. But because people grew up that way, they don't know a different way to live.
Yeah.
So maybe it would just be more like bring it in gradually might work. Or
How do you mean? How would you do it?
I think just like gradually bring it in. So rather than saying straight away like under 16 is just no social media, more like maybe start 13 and then build it up with the years as they go up. So then it will eventually be no under 16s, but anyone that's been brought up that way won't know different now.
So kind of like the smoking ban, they
Yeah.
did that, didn't
Yeah.
they? So the idea is we get to a point where no one smokes.
Yeah, bring it
Yeah.
up gradually I think works better, I think.
Do you think that there's a problem with, because something I often see is people going, oh, we'll just ban it for under 16s, and then none of the content online is a problem. Like Kemi Badenoch once appeared to make that argument.
Yeah.
They were talking about Grok, it was undressing women and children and creating these abuse images. And Kemi Badenoch was like, well, we'll just ban it for under 16s and then that will cease to be a problem. And I was like,
Still a problem.
I
still a problem.
disagree.
Yeah.
I even
Yeah.
disagree with the whole ban thing in general, because I feel like when you're banning it for under 16s, that doesn't stop the content from just disappearing. That makes the content stay there and it's just acceptable. If people aren't on social media from the ages of under 16, when they get older, they're going to see 10 times worse of things from people who are currently on the app, who are allowed to be on it. So I personally feel like the content should just be like clipped or just taken out so that people can be on social media and be safe.
and what do you think should happen if a social media platform is hosting content which is unsafe, what do you think should happen to that platform?
Restrictions?
There should be a lot of restrictions. I feel like there's a lot of apps like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok that have regulations, but most of the time if I report something that I feel like is a problem, it comes back and it says no violations. So I feel like that needs to be worked on with all the social media platforms.
On Snapchat, for example, I remember I reported something that seemed very much not appropriate to be on a platform where sometimes even 12-year-olds are using to message their friends. And it, like, sort of like what Nyla said, the more you report it, the more it seems to come back. It seems like the reverse effect. And I think that sort of to do with what we were saying earlier, once it's online, it doesn't seem to ever go away. People can't really escape it anymore. And
Digital
I think,
footprint follows you everywhere anyways.
exactly.
So.
I mean, that was that one infamous day last year in February where like Instagram was just filled with violent content. Like every single person had that. So I think restrictions are still very loose, even for a big app such as Instagram or like just Meta company in general. So.
And when that happened, that assassination content that you're talking about, Meta went, oh, sorry, we tweaked the algorithm wrong. And they tweaked it, which shows that they can do it, right?
Yeah, it's sort of like a lack of care as well, essentially.
Yeah,
like, shouldn't you pay a bit more attention to it?
Yeah, they said it was a mistake, but it's a big mistake to have for such a large app.
A large
mistake.
company
Yeah,
as
and a
well.
large
Like,
company.
if your platform is being used by billions of people over the world, you should be more considerate and also like be aware of what you were doing.
Yeah.
Cautious, thank you. I was trying to find the word. You should be more cautious about the content that you're putting out there or how you're tweaking the algorithm for people to see certain things and not to see certain things.
So the problem that the government have got, I think, is that their Ofcom, who have been put in charge of implementing the Online Safety Act, are trying to leverage fines on these social media companies when they are hosting dangerous or radicalizing content. But because a lot of these companies aren't based in the UK, they're just going, well, we're not going to pay it.
Well, in my head, I'm thinking to myself, what's a fine going to do? If that makes sense. A fine is just money. It doesn't really change behaviour.
So what should happen instead, do we think?
Well, more restrictions, but again, that doesn't seem to be helping. So unless one of us thinks of an idea, I don't really know what else can be done, to be honest.
And the restrictions, that brings me back to the VPN, because that's how people are getting around the restrictions. How widespread do you think VPN use is amongst people your age?
I think almost everyone uses a VPN.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's like more popular these days, especially since 2020, where like everyone was locked in at home, and then they've been learning all these things, and then using VPNs has helped a lot of people, even from countries where like there's many things blocked, such as WhatsApp, for example. People have been using VPNs to access it. So I think it's more popular since everyone uses computers and phones more often, and things such as the Online Digital Safety Act has been implemented in the UK, for example. I think there's been a VPN increase recently, like in this past year, because of the act.
So is the primary reason to get around restrictions?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think especially under 16-year-olds, like if they've grown up with social media their whole life and been allowed TikTok and Snapchat, if that's completely taken away from them, like immediately, they'll just find a way around it. Or
they're very
find some
eager.
way.
Yeah, very eager because they feel like they're missing out. It's like FOMO. Like, as soon as, for example, I remember growing up, like my friends were allowed Snapchat before I was, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so unfair. Like looking back, I'm like, yeah, thank God I didn't have it.
You've actually brought me nicely to my next question, which is when you look back on your younger years. Well, no, actually, let me ask you this first. At what age did you first get a smartphone and access to social media?
I am so glad we're talking about this.
Yeah,
9?
Like
Nine.
Late,
About 11, I think.
late year 6. I don't know how old I was. Maybe 10 years
late
old.
year 6 is when you should get a phone.
Do you
Mainly
think?
you're
for
walking
safety.
you're walking to school.
home by yourself. You're not a primary student anymore. You're like on the doorstep of becoming a high school student, where you need a phone, you need your parents, you need to be able to contact them whenever, because you'll be traveling by yourself.
That's the thing. Sorry, like when children first get a phone, there shouldn't be many apps. It should literally just be games and like phone to contact parents or messages or WhatsApp.
Yeah.
But it like as soon as I got my phone, I remember I was like, right, Roblox, TikTok, all the above. I was so like, right, step 1 done. The rest is easy now.
And actually there's a campaign called Smartphone Free Childhood, and what they want is for there to be a smartphone specifically for that age group that you're talking about, and it has maps, music, and I think Childline on it, and you can't download download any other apps
I think that's
onto
what
it.
they should do. I think nowadays parents are becoming too loose and giving children phones at, this has nothing to do, but giving people phones at the ages of 9. A child should not have a phone at 9. You're like, in like the start of year 6, you just finished year 5. You should not have a phone at that age.
Also, you're very impressionable.
Exactly.
Extremely.
You should get a phone when you're about to go into high school, or like latest the end of year 6.
As
When
soon
you're,
as
It depends
you're-
what you're
yeah.
using it for though, because when I was like, I think about 10 years old, I was walking home from school or walking to a friend's house like
Yeah.
on my own. So
Yeah.
like there should be some sort of alternative, but at the same time, at 10 years old, you don't want to be having TikTok, scrolling all day, having Snapchat,
Yeah.
just wasting your time.
back when I was in year 6, parents used to, I knew that I had a friend, she wasn't allowed a phone, but her parents would give her a brick phone. So the only thing she could do was call her parents.
They did that with my
Yeah.
sister. That was
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, go on.
I got a phone at 9, but that was because I was traveling to school alone. So that's one of the reasons.
I think that's
But I
the
feel
only
like,
reason you should get a
yeah,
phone.
and I
Yeah.
feel like because of that, I go into social media a lot more younger than I should have.
So when I was 10, it was 1991, and there was no internet. Like there was no Google, there were no emails. There certainly wasn't social media, and there wasn't smartphones.
Can't
And-
imagine the
I
life.
was gonna say, I
Yeah,
cannot
and,
imagine my life.
and
like
my
that.
school was like a 15-minute train ride away. So, do you think I was less safe than kids are now?
Well, outdoors back in the day.
Probably, yeah.
See, like, how do I explain this? I remember like the way my parents talked to me about their time in.
I used to climb
my-
mountains.
Well, yeah, no, but like my age in their time, sort of, it was much safer to be outside. Essentially, there wasn't as many dangers, if you will, and there's also not people shoving a camera in your face trying to vlog you or something without your consent. It's a bit safer. It was a bit safer then. Not safe in terms of like other things, but in terms of the media, it was safer than it is now. But at the same time, don't get me wrong, media is great because that's what this school's about, like, and all that stuff. And people can get so many jobs and they can do so well. They can thrive in the media. But there is obviously the downfall, and I think that downfall starts young.
It's so interesting what you've just said, because you've identified the main danger that a 10-year-old now would have that I didn't have, is that everyone's got a phone. But the solution to that is to give the 10-year-old a phone.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I just realised this. Right, so in order to be safe from this phone, you should get one.
Yeah, and it reminds me of like in the States where they say, oh, we need to give teachers a gun because people are going to the schools. Yeah, exactly. I wonder whether there is a thing of parents being really anxious now because they've got so used to being able to contact their child at any time and track where their child is.
Understandably though, like
Yeah.
I honestly think to my parents, and I'm like, how you have the faith to let me go to school by myself is actually bewildering, because people are insane, honestly.
Yeah. But I feel like I kind of disagree with the whole thing of like having no social media being safer, because then that means that when there's like murders and stuff like that going on, for example, behind closed doors, there's not very much like media coverage on it. So how are you really gonna know what the dangers are if there's literally no articles or anything about it?
I think they should get certain apps, and then certain apps they're not allowed to download. Like the news app. My dad tried to force me to put that on my phone. I said no, sorry. But I mean, he tried to put it on my phone when I was younger, and it was there for about. It used to like give me alerts every time. He had it on his phone as well. So like every time like a new news report came on, I get a notification from it, and then he would sometimes make me read the articles. And I'd be like, thanks, Dad. I just want to go to school.
I would get the same thing. I get the same thing with Google now. Google, I think, is quite an important app for anyone to have, even at a young age, just because, like, how do I get here? How do I get there? It's very easy in terms of like traveling, but then also with school when it comes to research. But also, Google sends me a notification every other minute. Like for example, the other week it was like, oh yeah, Jessie Nelson just released a documentary. I watched it as soon as I got home. Like, it's effective, but then at the same time, I feel like Google should be the only sort of source of information they should get.
Are you aware that the Google, the AI summary at the top of Google
Yes.
is not always
Yes.
accurate?
Yeah.
So do you think maybe there should be an alternative search engine that's a bit more reliable
I feel like all of them use AI. So realistically, it's not like there's any one of them that could just be just standard and have like no intelligence that's artificial with them. I feel like with artificial intelligence, it's useful in a way where it will kind of update you now times, if that makes sense. It won't keep the old stuff on there, because if you go on Google now, you'll see things from years ago, and it's not like technically yesterday it happened.
They do have the little dates underneath every like thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But usually it's more old things that have happened in maybe 2023. Whereas when you look now, it's not 2026, like updated.
And in terms of the news, how do you think it affects you having this supercomputer in your pocket that is updating you on everything that's going on in the world all the time?
I mean, it's quite scary. Like, it's handy to have because then we do know what's going on. But at the same time, like, to know that quickly, sometimes the news isn't always correct at first, and it just spreads a load of fake news straight away immediately. And I think with AI, like, as good as it is, it's not like a human. They can't tell right from wrong. They don't know what is true and what's not. So
I feel like with that, when you go on the news, you see headlines, and some people don't actually open the article and read it. So they may see something in the headlines, and then it's kind of true, but like there's actually
clickbait?
like. Yeah, it's clickbait,
Yeah.
It's basically clickbait, so I think that's a different problem. I know newspapers have that, but when people actually took newspapers that actually read it, but on news apps, sometimes like they just see a headline and don't read into it.
You never know what you're going to get, to be honest.
Yeah, true.
And it's all symptomatic of the same thing. I think a lot of legacy media has had to become more clickbaity to compete with social media. But for example, when I'm broadcasting on LBC, I have to check my sources. I can't libel anyone. I can't say anything that I know to be untrue. If I accidentally say something that is untrue, I have to correct it as soon as possible. And there are all of these rules that don't apply to YouTube or TikTok. And I'm wondering, for people your age, it feels to me like there is a mistrust of legacy media and a trust in social media in terms of news reporting that could be quite dangerous potentially.
Yeah, I kind of believe in that, to be honest, as well, because it's also about that thing that happened years ago. I think it was like a party that was broadcasted all over Twitter. A lot of people went to it, and it was like over 1 million people.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was apparently to do with like Area 51, and a lot of people went there, and it basically got very hectic with police beating on people to try and get out of the area, stuff like that. I feel like with social media, you have to be very careful what is out there, because there's young people who will potentially see that and think, yeah, let's go, and then they don't know any of the dangers of what could happen.
We should definitely be taught how to pick up on what's true and what's not. Like, for example, us being in a media school, it's a bit more easier to us because we understand to look straight to the beginning, the roots of where this source came from.
We've been taught it for a very long time as well. So
we're used to it by now, but a lot of people who don't have the sort of education in terms of that area, they won't know, and they'll get put into situations like that. And it's sort of comes back to the point where you were saying how, do you think that multiple people don't know how to do it and how to make sure that what they're seeing is true or not? The social media themselves, like the platforms like TikTok, Facebook, all the above, they should have a page or some sort of link to teach you, is this right or is this wrong, or even the app itself flag it. Do you know what I mean?
And they're relying a lot on community notes, aren't they? A lot of them, which is users correcting each other. And what about chatbots? How many of you use AI chatbots like ChatGPT?
All the time.
I try not to use it as much. I only use it if I'm being told by my teacher. Like back in year 11, when I actually denied, I told my teacher, I was like, no, I'm not using it. I'm trying to stay as far away from it as possible. Not saying that AI is bad. Obviously, it has its positive sides, but I'm trying to stay in a way that I want to think for myself and not instantly go, oh, hey, I don't have to do this. I can just get a bot to do it for me. It kind of kills brain cells in a way, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't make you think yourself. When we were all brought up in a way where we were told to, like, oh, if you can't do it, ask your teacher.
Oh, what was that thing? There was like a slogan. It's like book, board, then your teacher, then your friend, then your teacher.
Yeah, I was brought up in that way. So like using like ChatGPT to do my work, it sometimes feels like I'm not thinking anymore.
It's like a second brain.
literally that.
I think I will quite often do the work myself, but then use ChatGPT to like check it and be like, is this work okay? But at the same time, like, why am I asking a robot if my work's okay? It just seems weird.
And this is something that your teachers have told you to do historically.
Well,
high school and like primary stuff, it's like, do it yourself. You can't do it, ask a friend. If your friend doesn't know, ask your teacher.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if your teacher doesn't know, ask ChatGPT.
Well, to be honest, ChatGPT wasn't a big thing when I was in primary school, for example. It was more so if the teacher doesn't know, the teacher will Google it.
Right.
Yeah.
It was more
Google was the biggest thing
it's
back
like
then.
nostalgia. So.
Yeah, I mean, I try to use on AI only during like specific work. If I have like a question, if I'm like editing something, for example, and I can't find anything on YouTube or Google, because sometimes it just gets to that point, I would ask ChatGPT or just with like very specific ideas. But I try not to use it for like don't use it for news or anything historical, or because it's always going to give you something wrong.
And again, how many of your peers do you think are aware of what you've just said about it gets a lot of stuff wrong and you can't rely on it? Do you think this is a widely known
I
thing?
think everyone knows, but some people just choose to ignore it.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe just a bit
they just
oblivious
choose to
to
just
Yeah.
think
A lot of
Some
people are
straight past
very
it.
glued to ChatGPT right now.
The thing is though, it gets to a point in terms of mental health with ChatGPT. Because for example, people go to ChatGPT to be a therapist.
Yeah.
I find that so interesting. When I found out people were doing that, I was like, no, why would you do that? Because like last time I checked, robots don't have feelings.
That is true.
Yeah.
But they do have coding, I swear, that it somehow makes
Like
them
it's like
talk to
has
you like it's
sympathy
okay.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
But I
can
don't-
come across as empathetic,
I
but
think that I find
It's
that
not
very
actually empathetic.
Yeah.
It's,
there's no
I
feeling
find
in
it
there.
very scary that people are now using ChatGPT as a therapist when there's actual people out there who feel what you feel that can talk to you and
Sometimes it is scary though, isn't it? Like I feel like I get it, but then I don't. Like for example, people that use it for a therapist, I think to myself, okay, there's a reason for that. Maybe they don't feel like it's safe to talk to an adult or talk to a friend. So considering certain circumstances, I do get it. But then again, ChatGPT can tell you some things that are
Why
not
do you
exactly-
think somebody would turn to a chatbot rather than a therapist if they needed help with their mental health?
Well,
Trust.
because I feel like that the AI bot doesn't actually judge you, and then
And they think their therapist would judge them.
well, not judge them, but as in like when you're looking at someone, you're telling someone how you feel.
it's like eye contact.
Yeah.
It's like the eye contact and like
sometimes it's
the-
overwhelming.
Yeah, and they know what you're feeling, and maybe not just a therapist, but maybe for example your friend, they might just tell someone else. what they
Yeah,
think.
That's true.
That's a big
Yeah,
That's what I
people
mean
as
by
well, like
trust.
they're obviously
Yeah.
thinking something, like whether it might be positive, it might be negative, they do have an opinion on what you're saying. Whereas a chatbot is probably just going to tell you what you want to hear. Like,
Yeah.
I've never asked ChatGPT something and then they've gone like, and then said something negative. Like, it's
Yeah.
always positive, or like they're
Yeah.
trying to like make you feel okay. But
Something
yeah, it doesn't
like
work.
something with phones and AI that kind of scare me is like, for example, I'll talk about strawberries, for example, and then I open TikTok and there's an ad for strawberries,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I was just talking about that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, how do you know that? Do you know what I
I had
mean?
that
Like,
last
you can
week.
hear
Yeah.
Exactly,
so
it's
much.
not a
Yeah.
coincidence. And I feel that ChatGPT, if as a therapist, would do the same. Like you're talking about something, it'll tell you what you want to hear. That's not
They
the end
cater to
goal.
what you want to see anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And what do you think the dangers of that? Because you've all used a chatbot. I will confess I have not, because I would rather use my brain. I'm
so proud of you.
Thank you. So you know what it's like and how it responds to you. And you were saying it's never really challenged you or criticised you. So if somebody was going for mental health support, what do you think some of the dangers could be?
It can tell you to do something that is not ideal. For example, I remember this whole Momo thing. That was insane. Like that wasn't even a chatbot, but it was someone telling you, like telling children to do something that's not exactly safe for them. AI can do the exact same thing, because you never know who's programmed AI. Like the person who's programmed AI may as well be like, who knows? They might be a serial killer, for example, and
God.
that person who's made that can now influence children and influence teenagers, adults, whichever. And when your mental health is sort of not in the best place, you're very vulnerable and you're very impressionable. And so therefore, like, if you're told to do something in those kind of circumstances, you might do it. And it can be
Yeah.
very harmful and detrimental.
It's interesting that you've all identified this as a problem, because I wrote a piece for LBC Views just this morning about this, because Mind have launched an investigation into people, particularly young people, using chatbots as therapists. But the reason I identified is because it's so hard to get a therapist, and particularly via the NHS.
Yeah, there's a long waiting list. And I feel like that's a problem as well, because even though there are a lot of people who may have more priority over others, everyone should at least have the opportunity to get that help and actually be able to speak to a person, because sometimes when people turn to artificial intelligence, it won't always go the way that they wanted. And if they turn to their friends, it could also be a thing of they have past trauma from talking to other people and they've like spread their business, and they just may feel like, I just need to keep this to myself and just let it bottle up.
Sometimes it's also a bit overwhelming because you're putting your stress on another person.
Yeah.
Also on the whole NHS thing, I think sometimes people forget that there's also online therapists that are actually still people that you can Zoom call with them to talk about your issues. You don't always have to be in the waiting line on NHS. There's other alternative ways to relieve stress and talk about your issues. And it doesn't always have to be a friend. It could be an actual like professional, but through Zoom calls. And
I think with therapists, because there's such long queue, like you were saying earlier, I think with ChatGPT, it's literally on someone's phone. They can have it in 2 seconds. Like, it's not long. So
Literally.
it's hard, because obviously there's no way of shorting the list of like how long it is to get therapy, but there needs to be some way around it, because people will just turn to ChatGPT or social media or something quicker.
And I think the problem with this NHS line and how it's really long is the fact that they see to people who might not even actually need it. You never know what's actually happening. So I understand sometimes why people would go for AI, and people, like, no issue that someone has is bigger or less than someone else's. Not everyone's going to go through the same thing. Some people will, but people take it differently, and every person should be seen to no matter what they've been through.
Just one last thing on the VPN thing.
It's haunting us.
I know. It's apparently one of the things that the government is considering is banning VPNs, essentially making them much, much harder to access, possibly making them illegal. Do you think that, well, first of all, do you think that's a good idea? And second of all, if it did happen, do you think that there would be other ways that people would find to get around those
Children will always find another way.
Oh yeah,
Someone will find a way.
Always find another way.
Always,
Technology's become like children's best friend. So if one thing gets banned, there's always another thing.
And who knows, AI might help them find it.
So it's like whack-a-mole. The government's trying to.
basically.
So one of the things that the National Education Union is pushing for is for there to be compulsory digital literacy lessons in all schools.
Yeah.
Did you have digital literacy education?
So
No.
in my primary school, and I think a bit of my secondary school, we had IT classes, but they weren't very helpful. They were like more like activities and games on the computer, you know, like kind of learning how to use a computer. But I think it's 2020. That was 2016-ish. So like it's still, everything was still kind of new. But it's 2026 now, and literally everyone uses technology. Like it's almost impossible to find a person in this country without a phone. You know.
Yeah.
Like a more modernish phone. So I think it's important. So like writing documents, that's important. Using maybe programs like maybe Canva to like understand to template stuff. Maybe code, a bit of coding, you know, just a bit of everything.
And because most of you said no, you didn't get anything. What do you think you should have had, and at what age, that would have maybe prepared you a bit better for the online world?
Again, as soon as you get a phone, to be honest.
Okay.
I feel like
Year
they should
7.
teach it in maybe like year 4 to start with.
So that's about 7 years old.
Yeah.
Just some sort of guidance. So
Something
we
like
barely
that.
had anything.
Yeah, that's when I
that's true.
started. We used this program called Purple Mash. And it's just like, yeah, it wasn't very helpful, but for example, Scratch. It's like a kid's coding program, so that was actually quite helpful.
I loved Scratch.
Yeah.
Good memories.
Something I think about a lot is, for example, like the 90s or the 2000s is a trend. And I think to myself, I'm like, why are we not making the time period where phones weren't a thing more of a trend, so that people will steer clear from technology? Use their own algorithm for the bell.
But you'd need a phone to find out that was a trend.
But once that trend has captured you enough, you'll do it. Like, have you seen those phones? You can Bluetooth connect an old telephone to.
Can you?
Yeah.
I'm getting one.
Wow.
100%.
Okay.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm falling for it.
Yeah.
Because sue me, it's a pretty pink phone. I'll do it. And, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, use the trend to sort of manipulate it in the better way. and not manipulate it. Oh, get a phone. You know what I mean?
But with trends, it's like they always change. There's always like safe ones,
Within
and then you
that,
have
you
the
change every
really
other day.
dangerous ones where kids will involve themselves, and it's like there's a lot of tragic things that happen to them afterwards. And it's like with social media as well, it goes through all of the industries, entertainment, music, all of them. Even artificial intelligence is being used in music now, so it's kind of like people aren't being original anymore. So with social media, it's like there's pros and then there's cons. I mean, I feel like it's a good thing, but then it can also be a bad thing depending on like a person and
how
how
you use
strong-minded
it.
they are. Yeah, and how their mental health is like being affected by using that app. Because there's a lot of influencers who use, for example, TikTok and make videos every day, and they'll be fine. But then there's some influencers behind the scenes, they're going crazy because of a lot of bullying and stuff like that that people don't know about.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, actually, because there are so many young people that I speak to who would love to be an influencer. And I think it's the way, when I was a teenager, the way that like being a glamour model maybe was seen as a way to make some money. You know, if you didn't think you were going to get the grades or you didn't want to go to university, it was seen as like a shortcut to success. But what you're saying is that you're aware that a lot of influencers' mental health is actually being negatively impacted by
We've been knowing
the
that.
feedback they're getting online?
Yeah, I'd say the feedback, because at the moment I'm like nearly at 10k followers. I am kind of like a mini influencer. I do post every day and I do make videos, and I'm a part of like the TikTok Creator Fund. I would say it is fun, but there's also gonna be a time where I am probably gonna get the hate and I'm gonna have to deal with that. So that's one thing I have to bear in mind. But obviously other people who are really up there like have dealt with all of it already. So even if that's people in the comments clipping their face and like making fun of them like in the middle of videos, like little things like that can really make a person feel like insecure about themselves. So it's kind of like, if you're really going to put your foot in the actual influencer side of social media, be prepared.
If I could wave a magic wand and make all social media disappear so no one has it, would you want me to wave that wand?
Low-key, yeah. Let's go back to a simpler world. I think it was better. Like, to be honest, like, I'm so done with social media at this
That's
point.
my course gone.
Oh, okay.
Well, that is true.
I don't know. I'd say probably not, because there's a lot of things that need coverage nowadays. Like,
I wouldn't say fully, because obviously I miss the days when we all just used to go outside and like
Yeah.
ride
I have to
bikes.
knock on their door. Oh, can Terry come out to play?
I miss those days so much. Like nowadays I just pick up and film like, hi Lisa.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously I miss the days where we like used to go outside and play and have all the good stuff, like being young. But I kind of need social media now. Like
That's literally this goal.
my whole future just depends on social media. So it's just like I don't really want it gone, but I wouldn't mind if I could have a little time machine and go back.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, so many people depend on it and don't have another option at the moment. Like, if they need something social media for college, for school, like you use it for literally everything. So I don't think getting rid of it all would help, but changing it some way.
I think
Not
it would
sure
have
how,
a
but-
detrimental effect on people's careers. Like, for example, people who go on like the Brits or do BAFTAs, stuff like that, because those things are very big on the media, like being on the red carpet and having pictures and stuff like that. So I feel like if that were to happen, a lot of industries would have a big downfall.
Yeah.
And there is also, and I think you were alluding to this earlier, the fact that there are things that we wouldn't know about. Like, would we have known about George Floyd if somebody hadn't had a phone
That is
in
true.
their
That
pocket?
is true.
Yeah.
And I feel like with social media, a lot of people have learned how to use technology more. Because if they weren't on their phones all the time, maybe they wouldn't have known that they can work in tech or they can do all these things. Because maybe 30, 40 years ago, working as a cameraman might have seemed impossible. But now there's like courses, there's video editing courses, there's everything online. And you can
There's
learn from
workshops
online.
as
Yeah, there's
well.
workshops. Like on YouTube, everything is free. You can learn to be a video editor on YouTube in like a month, basically. So
How do I explain this? It's like with social media, it's like you win or you lose at this point. Like in a way, there's
You
no
win
way
some, you lose some.
you win some, you lose some. Like at the end of the day, you can't really win, and you can't really. Well, you can't lose. Everybody loses at some point, but you can't necessarily get rid of it. It's become such a staple in this world that we can't get rid of it.
Also, it's such a huge part of everyone's lives.
Yeah,
now.
and it's essentially like addiction. Like
Yeah.
for example, if people stop smoking, like their body could actually fail because they can't just do it like that. So that's why I'm saying, obviously, if we were to get rid of social media, we'd have to do it slowly, sort of like what Evie said.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you need it. You need it. So it's hard.
I think if you're grown up differently though, then you
Yeah.
don't know different. So if it's
Yeah.
just brought
Exactly
up that it's
that.
maybe you get social media at 16, like just start slowly bringing it up that way, because cutting it off fully I don't think would work. I just think everyone would kick off, like everyone in Australia was going mental, they're all so annoyed. So it just needs to be, they need to figure out a way that's calmer.
So if you were advising the government on this, what advice would you give to them?
To gradually bring it up, I think.
Or just have restrictions on certain apps for certain ages.
I think it's to do with the companies, to be honest, of the social media
Yeah.
like, platforms. I
They
think
need to
they
step
should
up.
have some sort of regulation that can't allow certain things.
I don't think fining is the way to do it. Fining just doesn't seem to get you anywhere. It's
Doesn't
literally
do
just
anything.
money.
It does not do
Money is a number. Like no one cares at this point.
Money changes, it comes and goes.
Exactly.
Like, they don't care.
That's my point. And so I'm thinking, well, to the government, if you're listening. It's
Which they might be.
oh, great. So I think it's more so just like, imagine your own child using social media. Treat it the way that you would want treat the media and treat sort of your people, your citizens, the way that you yourself would want to be treated, or you'd want your children to be treated. You'd want someone close to you to be treated. Just think how they'd want to be treated.